Welcome to Talking Giants presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick. And I hope you guys enjoyed this week, right? Because guess what? Next week, and I'm getting all warm inside saying this, is Giants training camp, baby. We're going to have episodes every single weekday. We're going to have live streams after every single training camp practice. We're going to be interviewing reporters and different people in the van. I'm going to be up in New Jersey for almost a month. I'm freaking excited for it. Justin, how are you?
I'm great, man. This is really cool, really fun. And also, I love mailbags. It's been a while since I've been on a mailbag. This is the last mailbag until after the New York Giants play their Week 1 game, correct?
Before we do on the game week. But so technically it's a game week mailbag.
Game week mailbag.
Yeah, so it's basically 6 weeks until you get to ask us questions again. So if you see us in person, don't ask no damn question. No, that's something we do say. If you're going to be at training camp practice, please come say hello. It makes our day. We love to stop and talk with everyone, do whatever. So excited for it. It's the most fun time to work in the NFL, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And also, if you want to sit next to us, then help us point out who's doing what on the practice field, and we can split up duties. I just had that idea. You watch over there, I watch over there. Ready, break.
Yeah, that could work. You want to make sure you get the right guy, though, because then you can get some bad information.
So be the right person.
Yeah, be the right person. But do come say hello and everything, and I'm looking forward to seeing everyone out there. But we do have
I'm going to have hot dogs.
Oh, yeah. You are going to do that.
I'm
not going to do that. Before we get into this mailbag, the people that we are looking forward to seeing down there, and everybody and the people that make this possible, some special people. First, we got Christopher Robin. We got Robin Red. And then we got Red Foreman. Justin, who are these people? I feel like they're messing with us with these names.
Two different versions of Robin and Red Foreman of That 70s Show. Did you watch that 90s show on Netflix?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. Patreon.com/Talking Giants. $2 a month plus some other tiers. You get to hang out with us. Watch the shows live as we record them. That'll be fun for game recaps. Hey, even preseason game recaps. They're going to be on some interesting weird days on the weekends. God damn it. They're going to be like Sunday releases. Ew. Those episodes. Ew. Patreon.com/Talking Giants. Bobby Skinner will also send you some stickers in the mail whenever he's in the state of Florida, and shirt raffles a couple times a month. Thank you to our patrons.
I'm waiting on a shipment of stickers, so if you haven't got stickers and you're a newer Patreon, just know that you have not been forgotten. All right, Justin. Take it away, Steve.
Mail time.
Mail time. The mail's here. Come on. Bye, guys. Here's the mail. It never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail.
Thanks, Steve from Blue's Clues. Justin, let's get into the mail.
First question is coming from our friend Freddie Goodall. We see him at Giants training camp. Hope you're doing well, my friend. At Goodall Freddie, do you think tight end will be a legit camp battle with Theo going on PUP? It does throw a wrench in this, but assuming they are healthy, how do you see the first and second team reps going for them?
So first, rookies reported on Tuesday, and Theo Johnson was put on the PUP list of physically unable to perform. According to Arch Stapleton, it's a hip flexor, and, I by no means am a good doctor. I am a doctor, but not a very good one. Googling and trying to figure out how long a hip flexor is, and it could be a whole wide range of time frames, right? It could be, less than a week, or it could take over a month. Now, it wasn't on the non-football injury list, meaning that it happened in the Giants facility, but he participated in all the minicamp and OTA. So either it happened at the end of that, or, doing a physical on Tuesday and messed it up. But that's going to suck, because he was like, outside of Malik Nabers, he was probably the guy I was most excited to see out in training camp. And hopefully it's a Daniel Bellinger one-day PUP list. Maybe that's a rookie tight end thing where they just go on it for one day.
Initiation.
But here's the thing with the tight ends. I do think they have big plans for Theo Johnson, right? Even if he doesn't start right away. But I also think, if they feel like he's performing, they're going to have no hesitancy to start him. Like, they drafted this guy for a reason, and it's because of the receiving value, right? And as much as I like Daniel Bellinger, Right, he's going to be an important piece of this offense. He gives you very little receiving value, right? His value is that he'll make the catches coming his way in the quick game, but outside of that, he's just not someone that is a threat to defenses, right? He has 40th of 42 tight ends in yards per route run his rookie year, 41st in average depth of target. Last year was 38th out of 46 in yards per route run, and then 45th in average depth of target. So he just doesn't challenge you more than 10 yards down the field. And Theo gives you someone that can challenge you all over the field, and I think he's more of a red zone threat with his size. And it's not just the size and athleticism; like their college careers speak to that, right? Where Theo Johnson shared reps and Daniel Bellinger was just the guy at San Diego State. Despite that, their last 2 college years, Bellinger had 560 yards and 2 touchdowns. Johnson had 670 and 11 touchdowns. Like Theo Johnson should be a better receiver than Daniel Bellinger day one. I hope he, if he's not ready, they give him some time to grow and use him sparingly. But Theo Johnson is going to be a better receiving threat than Bellinger from day one.
I think even athletically, too, Theo Johnson is just
definitely
better. And throw out the RAS score. I don't really care what it says, but
he is really athletic.
He is. And I think Theo, I'm not going to call him the quickest tight end I've ever seen, but I think you see his quickness show up in the intricacies and the way that he runs routes. I think he's really good at the stem. And I mean, you talked about how, I remember this from your film breakdown, the way that he's able to kind of shove off without it being a push off. So he does certain things at the snap and at the release to get open. Plus, this isn't, we're not talking about a guy that isn't athletic. We're talking about a guy that can move, does have yak potential, even though he didn't really show it at Penn State and the numbers didn't really back it up. But I do think he does have yak potential versus Daniel Bellinger. It's not a shot at him. I think Daniel Bellinger is imperative to this offense and its overall stability as a unit, especially from a blocker. But yards per route run, when you're seeing a guy's yards per route run is under 1, it's not very good. And Bobby already broke it down too, ranking by position. But Theo's going to bring a little bit of juice, and that's what this offense needs. And I think day one, they're going to split snaps, of course, because they're going to have both of those guys doing different things. But Theo's going to be more relied upon as a receiver for sure.
Yeah, and obviously Bellinger is going to bring more as a blocker, right? And specifically as a move blocker, where that's
yes.
I think any young tight end it's a difficult transition to going from college to blocking NFL defensive ends. It's really hard. But where Theo Johnson struggles is out in space as a blocker, where that's where Bellinger thrives. He's their pseudo fullback for this team. So, and Bellinger knows the playbook. He's a smart receiver, right? He knows where to sit. Like he's on time. He's been a red zone threat at times, but Theo just gives you so much more receiving value that I do like. If Theo Johnson, again, if he gets off this PUP list quickly, I think this is about as open as a camp battle as there is, outside of maybe the second defensive tackle spot after Dexter Lawrence.
You think tight end is an open battle?
I really do.
No, I think Theo's
doesn't mean Bellinger's not going to play, but I wouldn't be shocked if Theo Johnson's starting for this team early.
No, that's why I don't think it's a battle, because I think Theo Johnson will. And also, again, it's going to be such a rotation.
You think it's like, you really think they're going to just put Theo over Bellinger?
Yeah, as a receiver. As a receiver.
But I'm saying who gets the majority of the snaps week 1? That's what I mean when I'm talking starter then.
If healthy and if ready to go, I think. But this is Brian Flores.
Actually, no. Save this. We're doing camp battles on Tuesday. I didn't want to turn this into the camp battle podcast, but my point is being that it is going to be open camp battles. So save your take for camp battles. Podcast.
But also another thing that I want to mention too, and it's a shame that we don't have another tight end to compare besides Darren Waller, because he was so much out wide. But I was pretty surprised to see that 34% of Daniel Bellinger snaps last year, and then even 25 plus 17. Quick math, 42? Yes. 42% of Daniel Bellinger snaps in 2022 was either spent in the slot or out wide. So around 60% in line. And that's high. That's high for a tight end. I'm not saying that there's, like, even, Laporta was lower.
A lot of it is detached by, like, 1 yard line, 1 yard too. So
Right. So, but I'm basically saying separating having your hand in the dirt and hand not in the dirt is my thought. And I do think that Brian Daboll would like a tight end that can maybe catch the ball solely not with his hand in the dirt. Like Daniel Bellinger, I would always see Daniel Bellinger go out wide.
Waller. You think of Dawson Knox in Buffalo.
Yeah, so I would see Daniel Bellinger's first 2 years, especially in 2022, going out wide, and I'm like, why? What? The ball's not going to him. So I do think that Dable wants that, and I think Theo Johnson can provide that. He can catch the ball with his hand in the dirt, but I think he can also hopefully get open and be a guy when he's out in the slot and then also out wide.
Yeah, but I do think this is a legit battle, and I will give my opinion on who wins on Tuesday in our Camp Position Battles episode. So will Justin. All right, Justin, next question.
Next question is coming from Shane at Seamus0914. What do you think about the ones and preseason reps, in particular DJ and the O-line getting more than one drive together? Let's assume the wide receivers are on a bit of a rotation. They'd be rotating anyway.
So let's take this question and talk about training camp as a whole, preseason games, and then offensive line rotation. Okay. Like, this is, let's just be open-ended, like how you want to see things formatted. They need to go back to what they did. Like, I don't think last year disaster happened because of the way they ran training camp, but I think it does play a part. They need to go back to what they did in 2022, which was miles different than what they did in 2023.
I'm going to call a timeout, though, because 2022, they may have had to do that out of necessity because they just had zero offensive linemen. So that's why everybody was playing the same, and they were playing a ton because they just had no healthy offensive line.
I'm talking even in training camp.
Oh, you're talking like intensity too?
Training camp practices, how they play in the preseason games. So that's when the intensity has to go up in training camp. It was literally a country, not literally. It was a country club last year, right? They didn't condition after any practices, right? And Detroit opened my eyes a little bit, right? Because you're kind of like, it's the NFL world. They're soft now. They don't practice hard. And then you go to Detroit, and it's eye-opening because they bring a different level of energy, physicality in practice, even when we're talking special teams practice. I'm not talking about just the Giants versus Lions 11-on-11 stuff. I'm talking about when they're just practicing their punt return stuff. There's just a whole nother level where the Giants did not have that at all. Right, and they didn't condition after practice. You cannot be afraid of injuries. You have to be smart, but you can't treat training camp just afraid of injuries. Because guess what? They're gonna happen, and then they're gonna you get better at football by playing football. And then when it comes to the preseason, last year they didn't play in the first preseason game, and then the starters played one drive in the second game. The O-line played longer than that, but all the other starters took out. You need to go back to what you did in 2022. And I would even step it up a bit. First preseason game, 2 to 3 drives versus the Lions. Since it's specifically to give them 2 to 3 drives. In 2000, now, the Lions, I understand if they don't because they're doing the joint practices, unlike 2022. It's understandable if they don't, right? But in that second preseason game, that's what's important to me. Because in 2022, they played in 2022, they played them through the first quarter and then finished a drive that was in the second quarter. And then, they didn't play most of the second quarter. I think they should be playing the entire first half. The starters should play the entire first half. Who injury wise, who are you trying to protect on this offense that you're like, we don't have Darren Waller there. So we don't have Saquon who has no need for it. It's really just DJ.
Yeah, that's who I'm thinking of. They're not going to play Daniel Jones at all this preseason.
You don't think he's going to play at all?
I don't know.
He's
I don't
full
know where
go,
he
man.
is. I don't know.
He's full go. Like, he's not starting on PUP. He's been he is full go.
If he's full go, then he should.
I agree.
The second game. I don't think they're going to.
The first game they won't because they're doing joint practices.
They're not touching the first game.
Yeah, because they're doing joint practices. That's understandable. But if they were doing the joint practice, I'd like to see at least 1 to 2 drives, which they did that 2 years ago versus the Patriots. And then the third game, if that's the game you choose to let them rest. But even then, if you're not going to play them the first game, give them a drive in the third game, right? A lot of teams play a lot of teams in the NFL, that's the game they play their starters. Like we play the Jets.
That's what they did last year.
They play their starters for that first half or first quarter. So, and then with the O-line rotation, after the first preseason game, they need to decide what it is and stick with it. Like at that point, you need to know who your best 5 are. Put them out there, whether that's yanking Neal or keeping Neal in there. No moving the guards around. Backups can switch between left and right at their respective positions of tackle and guard. Don't switch them between tackle and guard. Just They can work at left and right, and then a guard and left and right tackle. And so that's what I want to see out of training camp as far as like how they run it.
So is that our official deadline date of the same old line combo for the rest of camp? After
Absolutely.
the first preseason game?
Well, here's the thing: if they don't play the starters, then you're delaying this, right? But if Evan Neal doesn't look good in his first preseason action, like you need to yank him right then and there. Like if he looks bad, it's time to go.
Yeah.
And you should be able to get an idea of it in training camp too. I know he was a little better in training camp and then got the concussion. And then we didn't get to see, me and you didn't get to see him after that, besides the Panthers game. But like don't play games with this offensive line this year.
No, that's what they did last year. They played stupid games and they got stupid results.
Anything else on this?
No. No, I agree with you that they need to pick up the intensity in practice, and I think they know it too. I think some of the beat reporters talked about a little bit more of a upbeat.
They did
practice.
11-on-11 in OTAs, where last year they did only 7-on-7.
Yep. So very much a wait and see for me. Like this, we're gonna have to wait probably a week, maybe 3, 4, 5 days. Like that 4th and 5th day, they should start to ramp up. But maybe the ramp up period will be a little bit faster this year. That was something last year where we were kind of sitting on our hands for a couple days, being like, all right, well, where's the first full day of pads? Or even the first day of camp in 2022, they obviously didn't have full pads on, but oh my God, it was
intense.
Kadarius Toney's making diving catches in the back of the end zone. We're all celebrating. There was energy, there was juice, and it took a couple days to really get there last year. So I'm gonna wait and see to react to all that kind of stuff, but it's definitely on the forefront of my mind.
Absolutely. All right, next question.
Next question is coming from our friend Glock Roach at Glock_Roach. While the Shane and Saquon negotiations were going on, why did John Mara ask you guys to read an ad? And I have the answer. Because John Mara loves Dan Patrick. And guess what? John Boy Media and iHeart Podcasts have teamed up, and 2 of our favorite John Boy Media shows can be found on the Dan Patrick Show and that channel, The Wake and Jake, and Jimmy's 3 Things. Both of those shows, they've partnered with iHeart Podcast, Can I Speak? And the Dan Patrick Show family.
That's why you're not on Dan Patrick. You can't speak.
That's right. Jake Storiali, known talker, Talking Jake. They'll still continue to be the same shows you know and love, and that is the best part. And if you couldn't tell, we're excited about this one. I'm so excited about it that I'm stuttering my words, and we couldn't do cool stuff like this if it wasn't for all of ya. So thank you very much, Dan Patrick, iHeart Radio, iHeart Podcasts, John Boy Media.
Thank you, Talking Giants listeners, for making this happen.
Next question.
The
next question is coming from Tim at NYG Tim. Who are some vet options that you'd like to see the Giants sign?
It's thinning out since we asked this question 2 months ago. To me, the one, if Adoree Jackson's just out of play, the corners worry me. But the one that I do look at, Greg Van Roten from the Raiders, right? He's 34 years old. He started all 17 games last year with Carmen Brasillo, was 13th out of 85 guards in pass blocking efficiency. Now, I did play right guard, but you have to have a better player than Aaron Stinney starting a guard if Neal fails, right? And then what happens if Neal fails and then Runyon gets injured? Like, you're comfortable with Aaron Stinney and Marcus McKeithen starting?
It's disaster again. It's a disaster again.
Right? So, like, I'm going to use Joe Shane's words against him, where he said, we have 3 practice guys playing versus Miami. No one could succeed behind that. We got to protect ourselves. Well, protect yourself. Go sign Greg Van Roten with that newfound money with the Darren Waller contract. It's not going to cost a lot. The most money he's ever made in a single year was $3 million for the Jets in 2020 and 2021. He's lived, he's 34 years old and he's lived off of minimum contracts. If it takes $3 million per year, go do it, right? The Vikings just signed Dalton Risner for a $2.4 million on a 1-year deal. So, like, I go get Greg Van Roten. Go get, like, this offensive line is like hanging together by a string, and it's worrisome. Go get Greg Van Roten, and it makes you just feel so much more comfortable about this season. It really would give me so much more comfort about this season if they go and get him. I'm not saying he's gonna be great, but he's clearly a capable starter. Somebody's
gonna get hurt. It's not a hot take. So then they just have no depth. We're questioning the starters, and they have no depth. Some familiar names. Cam Fleming is still out there. He started 2 years ago for the Broncos, and some of the numbers were not bad. Cam Fleming's out there. He's
a good swing tackle. That's what he was brought in with the Giants originally to be. And then Nate Solder decided to not play that season.
Right. Tyree Phillips is coming off a torn quad, and the last update that we got from his agent, trainer, whoever, is that he's progressing faster than expected. If he's cleared, if he can pass a physical, I say we bring him back.
Should guard at least be and tackle. Camp.
Yeah, he's got to be healthy and he's got to be cleared. But if he is, bring him back. And then even this guy's a penalty machine. But
Connor Williams?
No, Donovan Smith from the Chiefs last year, and then
you think he'd want to come on a backup role
if he doesn't have a team?
Yeah.
Would it even be a backup role? It probably it would be a battle between him and
yeah.
Jermaine.
It's I think Kelvin Beachum. So I didn't even look at the tackles. I think Kelvin Beacham's still out there, right?
There's a couple tackles still out there. I think there may be more tackles than guards, and also there's more
he's still
centers.
In the Cardinals. It's the other tackle they had. I keep on mixing whoever that was up. The corners, they don't really again. Adore is the, we're going to record a TPC
There's two.
for the. We're recording a episode about the Falcons tomorrow, Justin, on Football Today, and I'm like, go sign Adore Jackson. Adore Jackson's the one. Outside of that, I don't know how comfortable I am. Xavier Howard. Fabian Moreau, again, I know it's a familiar name. What are your two?
One is Xavier Howard, and then the other one is Steven Nelson from the Texans, who had a pretty solid year last year.
Well, he's a nickel corner.
Yeah. And they need an outside corner and they need a nickel corner.
Yeah, it's outside is the one that I'm focused on, because nickel corner, they at least drafted somebody there. They could put Darnay there in a pinch. I'm looking at the actually no, he played outside last year. Wow, he moved to the outside. Yeah, Steven Nelson, pick him up.
31. I think all Steven Nelson's 31. Xavier Howard is around 31. So none of these guys are. We didn't put Jason Peters on this list, who's 42. So these guys
I thought the Giants should have signed Jason Peters last year when Andrew Thomas went down. Justin Simmons is out there, by the way.
Who's out there?
Justin Simmons.
Oh, yeah?
What is he going to sign for? Because if it's for cheap, I'm going to be wishing it was me.
He should go back to the Broncos.
Yeah. But he's still good. Him and Tyler Nubin would be a fun duo, and then Pinnock is, Pinnock can actually probably play a little bit of nickel at that point, right? You want to talk about, getting our DBs better in run defense? There you fucking go.
Woo!
You just killed two birds with one stone. Just annihilated those birds. All right, Justin. Next question.
Next question is coming from our friend Anthony Bordenaro. Who on the team has the most to gain from a good training camp?
I think it's Jordan Riley. That second defensive tackle spot is wide open. He was a training camp darling, and they clearly like him, right? The way Andre Patterson talks about him is he sees something in him. And I went back and watched a little bit of film. The Rams game, go watch the first 3 run plays of the Rams game. They're all Jordan Riley stops, right? And he had a couple of good reps versus Jason Kelsey. I think he can play his way into that starting lineup if he has a really good camp. Where last year he was up against it because he had 4 guys who were just clearly going to play over him.
Yeah, the first 3 guys that I've written down. I mean, Jordan Riley is the first name that I've written down, but even DJ Davidson, and I included Ryder Anderson in that crew as well. But again, not to get too camp battle-y, but Jordan Riley with a good summer can cement himself as, possibly the number 3 guy coming off the bench. Nacho's going to go in and out. Phillips is going to go in and out, but Jordan Riley, it's who's going to be that next guy that comes up, and I'm kind of hoping it's Riley because I think he has the best upside.
Yeah, I mean, he can be like, again, he was the one guy in that class we didn't like, and they saw something in him, and you saw like, oh, this guy's playing different than what he did in college. Like they made him drop his pad level a bit, like he's using his hands better. So that, and then the easy one is the backs, Tyrone Trace and Eric Gray. Like one of those guys is going to play their way out of being RB2.
I also wrote down Cordell Flott. He's again, not to get too camp.
I think he's got the most to lose.
Yeah, I guess how much is he going to gain?
Because now he's the outside starting corner. They've said it.
But he's never had a good camp. So I guess you're right. He has the most to lose. But I'm looking at it from the standpoint of Cordell Flott has never had a good training camp in his 2 years. Like every year it's been, all right, well, we have this expectation for Cordell Flott. He comes in, doesn't have a good camp. The team doesn't know where to put him, and he's so bad where they don't even know where to put him, and they don't know how he's processing things and what position he's going to play. And then even last year, he was supposed to start, and he has a bad camp, and then they just don't know what the fuck to do with him. I think if he comes out and he has a good camp, at least for me, it'll maybe cement my confidence a little bit more that we're showing a little bit of progression, and we've gone from the team being confused on where to put you and where to even play you to now you have a spot, you have a role, and you're showing more confidence in it. Yeah,
we should revisit the fact that we were like, what? Like, I understand Trey Hawkins having a good camp, but like he could be the first back. We don't need to force Adoree Jackson to the nickel. How badly that backfired, and they went away from that, which maybe contributed to Adoree Jackson having the worst season of his career, despite being all there athletically. Jackson deserves blame too, but anyways, I view Flott as the most to lose, right? Because they were eager to be like, all right, screw this. Trey Hawkins is a starter now. Cordell Flott, Darnay, go practice on another field. So I look at guys that can like move up, and realistically, I'm not like, John Giles. He has the most to gain because he's the 88th guy on the roster. But so Jordan Riley and then the two backs, the two young backs, like. Yeah. Somebody's going to be getting 4 or 5 carries per game, and then being a starter if Singletary misses any time. Like that's a pretty important position, and it's wide open between two guys, one drafted in the 5th in Gray, or both drafted in the 5th in Gray and Tracy.
We have a lot of conversations about the outside receivers and how that rotation is going to play out. So that room is already extremely crowded. But I go to backup slot. And also knowing that the backup slot receiver on this team is also probably going to be a returner. So I have a guy like Isaiah McKenzie written down too. Where like right now he's certainly not a lock for the team, but if he shows that he is somewhat of an advantage at receiver if Wan'Dale Robinson ever goes down, and also he can return, then it's like you're making the team and you will be valuable.
Yeah. All right, next question.
Yeah, a little knee deep of a name. I have Sean Sullivan at Sully Stone 7. Oh, now this is the question that everybody wants the answer to. Who is the weatherman? Can someone bribe you for the job? Second part of that question is yes.
Our guy Justin Martellini replied to the first things, I'll pay you, and I didn't do it, but I want to be like, how much will you pay me? Like, will it make a difference in my life? Because then I'll give you the damn job. I don't know right now. We haven't gotten an answer back from Danny King, and I kind of lean that it won't be Danny, but he's still got to be the favorite because he's just got the odds. And then we have someone who asked a question before, Anthony Bordenaro is a real weatherman. He wants the job. It could make sense to bring in a John Boy Media employee. And I was right, by the way, when I put Snacks at plus 7,000. People were like, that's great odds. And then look what happened the next day.
Oh no, yeah, those were. I would have.
Those odds are higher now.
Yes.
So I don't know. And when I put this question in the mailbag, I had thought about it for 5 minutes, and I'm like, damn. If Danny might not be on the preview, like a preview pod for the first time since Talking Giants has ever lived, and that makes me sad.
There's an in-house John Boy Media candidate.
There is.
Yeah, and in-house. Yeah.
Well, you're going to have to tell me about this. But again, I put the odds at, I think at Danny King was minus 100. A listener was plus 200. John Boy Media plus 300. Who was the other one? You know, I was thinking maybe we can add to the, what if a former Giant wants to be the weatherman?
That would be crazy. I don't know. That you would really have to humble yourself if you're a former Giant, especially if you're like a former. We wouldn't get a Super Bowl champion. This would have to be somebody that.
I don't think it's crazy to think that they'd be a Super Bowl champion.
Like I'm humbling myself. All right, I'm going to come on this podcast for 35 minutes and be this show's weatherman.
Well, you're not just sitting there giving weather for 30 minutes. Weather's in all reality,
but
the weather.
The title.
The weather is the smallest part of the weatherman job.
It is, but it's the title that's the like. Oh, you're this weatherman. You're a Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, and now you're on the #1 Giants podcast.
You think Jay Alford? You think Jay Alford would do it?
Oh, current Giants content creators at plus 500, but no current Giants content creators kind of throwing their name in the ring.
So what about Jay Alford? I am friends with him. He waved to me.
Yeah, he possibly could do it.
All right,
we can see
we'll
how maybe someone that will reach out. It's
What are license plate guys' odds?
He wasn't on there, but would he want to do it?
Probably not.
He's a busy man. Travels a lot. The main thing though is the time, because it has to be like if you work a 9 to 5, it makes it hard for you to do it.
Yeah.
Which most people that listen to this podcast do work. Just believe it or not.
Believe it or not.
Yeah, I don't know, dude.
We're gonna figure it out.
It's tearing me up inside. Because like if Danny, like it's gonna be sad. The preview pod's like the most excited you get for a pod on week 1, and then there's gonna be sadness because Danny King's not gonna be on it. But I'm hoping Danny's still my favorite for it though.
Okay, I think we flip the odds. The updated odds are a listener and a John Boy Media employees. Their odds are flipped. So I'm putting a John Boy Media.
Oh, well, you're gonna have to fill me in on this because I'm making the odds before I can change the odds. Because I make the call.
All right,
at the end of the day.
I'm gonna fill you in after the show. Patreon exclusive.
No, it's not. We're not talking to Patreon. This is like under wraps, dude. We are waiting until week 1. We're not giving any hints. So Patreon,
no more
this
hints.
is not a Patreon. So if you sign up for Patreon, don't expect to get this.
Next time we're talking about it is next time we're going to talk about it is when we debut the person or the person.
Oh yeah,
comes
it's
back.
literally the night before the preview pod. We'll put out breaking news. That's literally I've already thought that through, Justin.
Great.
All right, next question.
Next question is coming from Rumpelstiltskin 89. Oh, side tangent. There was a celebrity that died today. Did you tweet rest in peace from the Simple Man Radio account?
No, who was it?
I got a Patreon chat. Help us out. Blair might have Bob Newhart.
I don't believe
Tony Blair.
I'm looking it up right now. By the way, Donald Trump, I checked, was not on our dead draft on Simple Man Radio.
No, that would have been crazy if we did that.
No, he's alive.
There was somebody that just died, and we need to tweet it out.
Tony Blair is alive.
We need to tweet it out from Simple Man Radio.
Prime Minister of the UK.
Rumpelstiltskin 89 at Rumpelstillcool. Love that. Are there any UDFAs that you think will make the roster? And are there any draft picks from 2022 and 2023 you think could maybe get cut?
Well, this reminded me of like the most pathetic line a man can ever say is like, this is the worst UDFA class I've ever covered,
Who said that? You said that?
Me, when we did our UDF pods at the end. I was like, I'll be honest, this is the worst UDFA class. And it's like, it's kind of crazy that I am informed enough to make that opinion.
Yeah.
But the one that sticks out is Jake Kubis, right? The guard out of North Dakota State.
Yes.
You could even see him maybe transitioning to center, if they don't like what Austin Schlottman's showing them. And it ties in with the draft. Like Marcus McKeithen is like my most likely draft pick to get cut. Outside of that, Beavers has already been cut, so he doesn't count. You could throw Javarius Owens in there because he didn't get any playing time and was their final pick of last year's draft. But Marcus McKeithen, right? Like I have no faith in Marcus McKeithen being anything. Like I watched that guy make mental mistake after mental mistake after mental mistake and just be flat out bad.
Yeah, I'm with you with the draft pick that could get cut. I do hate to say it, Javarius Owens should make the team, but just from a bodies perspective, and there's some veterans that have jumped around in the NFL that are in the secondary that they may prioritize, even though I don't think they should. Marcus McKeithen and DJ Davidson were the two names that just jumped out to me immediately.
Davidson got run last year, even with Ashawn and Nacho and Leonard Williams.
He got run in
the team.
2022 too. It's just
And then he got injured.
Is he progressing? And I think the answer is no. And I think Jordan Riley is progressing better. And I think he has more of an upside than DJ Davidson. So, but Marcus McKeithen by far. It's Marcus McKeithen and then a wide gap, and then everybody else that could make sense. Jay Kubas, I agree, simply from a lack of body standpoint. But even he showed good stuff.
He was our favorite offensive UDFA, too.
Yeah. But is he small? Is that one of his issues? Is he a little small?
I think he's 6'3", 315.
All right, then that's not really that small. Played at a small school. I think that's also the issue. You play at a small school. I think he's good technically, so we'll see what he looks like in camp. But simply just from a lack of depth standpoint, Jay Kubas is the one that does make the most sense. My favorite UDFA, it was not Jay Kubas. It was Alex Johnson, the slot cornerback from UCLA.
I thought about that, but again, another numbers thing.
I don't think he makes it. And rooting for him to make the practice squad, he probably does. But, hey, have a good camp and make it a tough conversation, right? Again, especially you're going to be going up against the third team. So, pick off Tommy DeVito a couple times. And then I also do have on third
Nathan Rourke.
And then third, Nathan Rourke.
I think those were our top two UDFAs for, on offense and defense. Were Jake Kubas and Alex Johnson. So
yeah,
that goes in line with what we've said.
And then I do
Can you name the 8, by the way?
John Giles, are we talking about on defense or offense or just in total?
All of them.
All of them? John Giles, Ayira Sante, Jake Kubas. Did I say Ayira Sante?
Yeah.
Marcellus Johnson was that terrible, terrible tackle. Insanely bad. One of the worst.
Didn't even start last year.
One of the worst UDFAs I've ever seen. That's a sentence. The fullback / defensive lineman, Nikita Whitlock, Elijah Chapman.
I guess that's 9. I forgot he was a rookie man camp invite.
Alex Johnson is 6. There's a running
you
back.
said Alex Johnson twice.
I did.
All right, I'll just do this.
Well, no. Wait, hold on.
You got 10 more seconds.
And then who's the running back from South Carolina?
That's Dante Miller, but he's technically not a UDFA.
Well, we put him in the UDFA episode, so he counts in my head. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You say it.
And then Ovi Agofu, the edge out of LSU, who played for LSU, Texas, and Notre Dame. Casey Rogers, the D-line out of Oregon. And then this guy's exempt because he's international, but the kicker, Jude McAtamney out of Rutgers. Can't believe you forgot a Rutgers guy. You don't even like Rutgers. All right,
Crazy.
Justin, next question.
Well, I was going to... Whoa. There's a path for Ayira Sante to make the roster. St. Peter's Prep grad. If he could be a returner and he could be a slot receiver, Ayira Sante is going to make the roster and he's going to be the next Victor Cruz. Art Stapleton said he had a really good spring. Boom. Next question. I'm mowing the Air Rand. Sure.
Mowing the Air Rand.
Lim Jehi 99. Do you think that by the end of this season, Malik Nabers and Tyler Nubin could be the first 2 slam dunk picks for Joe Shane?
They have to be. Like, Malik Nabers needs to be a clear and away wide receiver 1 from day 1. There's no reason for him not to be. And I went and looked at all wide receivers taking the top 15 since 2018. These are the worst seasons that have happened. Jamison Williams had 41 yards. He was injured. That one doesn't count. But he still has been the worst out of all of them anyways. But I didn't think he was worth a top 50. I don't think he was even worth a first-round pick. Ruggs had 452 yards his rookie year. Jerry Jeudy with 856 yards is the 3rd worst receiving season for a top 15 pick since 2018.
And can I put a pause? I was on DraftKings today because I'm getting excited about putting like $40 bets on parlays of stuff and seeing if it's going to happen. The over-under for Malik Nabers receiving yards this year, by the way, if you're saying that's the 3rd worst, the over-under for Malik Nabers on DraftKings is 850.5.
I'm a fucking sharp. That was what I put our number for on in the over-unders podcast on Tuesday.
And you're saying that's the 3rd worst?
Yes.
Okay, keep going.
And then Drake London at 866 yards was the 4th worst. And then so like Judy and Ruggs were the second and third worst. Guess who went in those two drafts, or in that draft?
Who went?
Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb.
Ah.
So skill issue when it comes to drafting for the Raiders and the Broncos. So like, there's no reason for Nabers not to. And then Tyler Nubin is going to be asked so much from this defense, right? They're going to put a lot on his plate, and we need someone that can get their hands on the ball, right? And that he's the guy who fits the profile, right? 12 interceptions over, his last 3 seasons at Minnesota. They're going to, like, they've already talked about him being like a leader out there. Like, they're going to need him to do that, right? They're going to need him to be, using his football IQ from day one. Like, I need those two guys to be good from day one.
Yeah,
or day 10 or whatever. But like they need to be good from day one, and that's my expectations. And I'm not letting bad draft classes stop me from saying it.
No. I'm not even going to talk about Nabers here because Nabers is going to be fine. Nabers is going to be good. But I do have like Antoine Winfield's expectations for Tyler Nubin. I mean, there's just there's a pedigree of the type of player that's been coming out of that Minnesota defense the last couple years, in particular the Minnesota secondary. There's even another really good safety that Minnesota has as well that I think he's still in school. I have great expectations, knowing how Shane Bowen puts an emphasis on safety in this defense, disguising stuff. That's one of the reasons why we were really excited, and we said that bringing back Xavier McKinney is imperative because it's just going to be so different in the Shane Bowen defense versus Wink Martindale. I try to not do this. Like, I already have those expectations for Nabers to get like 1,000 yards, but I'm expecting Antoine Winfield type of impact from Tyler Nubin in year one. Won't say day one, I will say year one.
Okay, that's fair. Year one. But I want to see day one, though, too.
I would love to win day one, yes, against the Vikings.
Absolutely. Pick off J.J. McCarthy, even though they're going to start Sam Darnold. But it'll be easy to pick him off because he throws the ball in harm's way a lot. Next question.
Oh, boy. Anytime this guy's name comes up, the player, not Doug E. Fresh 86 at Doug E. Fresh 86 _. Anytime Dane Belton's name comes up, I feel a certain type of way. How does Dane Belton fit into this defense and the safety rotation? Will we see his best skill set be utilized? And Bobby Skinner, the thing that I've been asking since Dane Belton has been drafted is, what is his best skill set? So how I don't even fully know anymore.
Yeah, we talked about Nate Tice on that last episode about like the 3 safety sets, right? And that is him for me. And I think the best he's ever played when he's actually gotten to play defense was there was that little bit of stretch where they were playing him as basically like a big nickel versus tight ends and letting him, play in man coverage under Wink Martindale's defense. And I think in these 3 safeties, I think there's a role for him in that, right? When they get into 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, like come in on the field and be that bit, third safety, but your big nickel defender. And I think they're like, with the current state of the nickel corner, right, and how important it's going to be for the run defense, I actually think there could be a role for him to just play more just like, hey, you people, Isaiah Simmons early down nickel. I think Dane Belton has a chance to maybe play in that role.
I don't know if he's a good enough tackler, though, man. And I'm not just going off, PFF had
Andrew Phillips is? Isaiah Simmons is?
Well, that's a personnel issue where, they all 3 of them miss tackles. All 3 of them do. So, I don't know, man. Like, okay, so where does Pinnock fit? I think Pinnock can.
Well, Pinnock's just a starting safety.
They played Belton deep against
I don't know.
LA.
This is a question that's going to be answered in camp, by the way. That's one of the things I'm looking out for. How are they using the safeties in this defense?
But they played Belton deep against the Rams and then deep against the Eagles, like the final 2 games of the season. And, he had 2 interceptions against the Rams. I think they were largely bad Matt Stafford throws. Like, you tried doing
that's all they were. Yes.
You tried doing no look shit, and then Dane Belton just kind of got him.
So they were overthrown passes, yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's what he was doing. That's what he was doing. And he forces turnovers. Like, he has 3 fumbled recoveries in 3 years. He has 4 interceptions. That's 7 turnovers forced, and he has pass deflections too. 7 turnovers forced in 600 snaps? That's how much he's played over 2 years. So
I wouldn't look into that. I honestly wouldn't look into that. But
I'm searching for optimism.
Yeah, he does get his hands on the ball. But this is this is what I like. Things I can learn from training camp besides just like player evaluation, right? How's this player doing? To me, the number one thing is how is Shane Bowen using the safeties? I know how they're going to use the ends. I know how they're going to use the corners. How are they going to use the safeties? Because it's not something that you can just be like, this is what I do. Like, it depends on your personnel. So that's honestly defense. That might be the biggest like schematic thing I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And this camp is how is Shane Bowen using these safeties?
Two guys that I want to keep an eye on when it comes to this conversation. Jalen Mills, who has experience at both corner and now he's listed as a safety. Former Patriot, former Eagle. And then even Trey Herndon. Like, Bobby, I watched a couple Trey Herndon games. Watching for, number one, I was watching Anthony Richardson, and then number two, I was watching, the Giants signed him, in the middle of the spring and summer. So he's listed as a nickel corner, and I think he brings it, man. Like, I think he can cover. Jacksonville relied on him last year. He was kind of a starter last year for them. So those are two names because of how versatile they can be and because they're vets, and they've been there and they've done it. Jalen Mills and Trey Herndon. Trey Herndon from the Jaguars and then Mills from the Eagles and the Pats. So we're talking about this role of who's going to play that nickel spot or the big nickel. I think maybe they can do it.
It's wide open. Like I said, and I was actually going to listen to the Giants Huddle, like their player interview series, which, I usually don't just have the time to listen to that. But for this question, I wanted to listen for it. It's the only one they don't have up as the DBs because I wanted to hear what they were saying about the new coaching staff and stuff. And it's not up yet. So when it is up, let me know. All right, next question.
Let Bobby know. The next question, and it's the final question from Mr. Brownstone. What's your guilty pleasure song?
What's yours?
I mean, I wish
Here's
I
the
could.
thing. I don't know if you do because you don't feel any. You're a shameless person.
I don't feel shame. You're so right. Like normal person would say, "Man, I feel like a woman." Excuse me, I'm burping. Man, I feel like a woman. No shame in me burping on a podcast either. But no, I just found this band Truesdale, and I'm showing the picture on Zoom right now.
It's not there.
Oh, it's not there. Now it's there, and I'm going to bring down the brightness so you can actually see. This band, Truesdale, yeah, it's an all-lady band, and they're...
It looks like a kid's show.
And they're wearing...
Like Miss... What's the lady's name? Miss...
like Teletubbies.
Miss
like
Rachel.
They look like they're the Teletubbies. Like that's how they're dressed up in those colors. But their album, Dalton Feely and I started really listening to it yesterday. Their album called Out of My Mind, the deluxe version, they're fantastic. They're phenomenal. So that is currently my guilty pleasure girl band obsession.
And my man was like, I'll listen to a song. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to.
I think you should. I'll send you one.
Send me one.
Okay.
Maybe we'll make it the intro to this podcast. Probably not. Mine, ironically enough, was our intro for the last pod because I used it for the over-unders last year, and it's Over My Head by The Fray. Yeah. I feel like that because I kind of like my music, and it's like I don't like much of like pop music or anything stuff, so it's like nothing like that. So probably The Fray, like over My Head.
It's a good song.
Even How to Save a Life, like those are. Why is that
guilty?
Both, well, it's not guilty, but it's just like, would you be hanging out with your bros singing that song?
Everyone knows. Yeah, that song I would. Maybe not the other. What's the other one that you said?
How to Save a Life.
Yeah, I wouldn't be singing that around my friends.
Yeah, okay. So there's those, but I didn't. I use a band and maybe not just a song.
Truesdale, by the way. Truesdale.
I listen to Americana, folk, reggae. There's no guilty pleasure in those genres.
The Truesdale, I just sent you a song. It's a live version. They're the modern day Dixie Chicks, by the way. That's the comparison. Except it's not country.
Have you heard that guy Roy Otis? I don't know any of his other songs, but he did a cover of "Linger" by the Cranberries.
No.
Does a pretty good job. That could be one.
So you send me one. I sent you a song. You send me a song.
All right, I'll do it. All right, that's an episode. We'll be back. Guess what days we'll be back next week?
Monday.
Tuesday. PPP. Tuesday. Camp Battles. Wednesday. PPP. Thursday. More P's. PPP. Friday. Camp Recap Podcast and a van interview.
And then even TPPs on JM Football too.
Yep, and then TPPs. Are you down? We got live streams after practices. We got live streams after training or Hard Knocks. Get down with TG, with the PPTG. We'll see you then. Enjoy your weekend, because next time we hear you, camp has begun. Until then, let's go Big Blue.